Welcome to the DiscipleSmith's podcast. Today we're going to be looking at part 6 in our series Going Through the Bible in 1 Year. We're going to be looking at Genesis chapters 16 through 19. This is the DiscipleSmith's podcast. Well, welcome back everybody to part 6 of our study through the Bible in 1 year. Today we're going to be looking at chapters 16 through 19. We've already looked at some of the story of Abram. We also got introduced to this mysterious figure of Melchizedek in the last episode. Now we're going to be looking at the descendants of Abraham being born and some of the trials. We also will get to Sodom and Gomorrah today. So we're going to go ahead and get right into the scriptures. We're in chapter 16. The version of scripture that I'm using is the Holman Christian Standard Bible as we go throughout this entire series. It is my go-to study Bible. I find that the translation is easy to understand, and so I just thought for ease of use, I will be using this throughout our study. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get into it. Chapter 16, verse 1. It says, Abram's wife Sarai had not borne any children for him, but she owned an Egyptian slave named Hagar. Sarai said to Abram, since the Lord has prevented me from bearing children, go to my slave. Perhaps through her I can build a family. And Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So Abram's wife Sarai took Hagar, her Egyptian slave, and gave her to her husband Abram as a wife for him. This happened after Abram lived in the land of Canaan 10 years. He slept with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she realized that she was pregnant, she treated her mistress with contempt. Then Sarai said to Abram, you are responsible for my suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and ever since she saw that she was pregnant, she has treated me with contempt. May the Lord judge between me and you. Abram replied to Sarai, here, your slave is in your hands. Do whatever you want with her. Then Sarai mistreated her so much that she ran away from her. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? She replied, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, you must go back to your mistress and submit to her mistreatment. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will greatly multiply your offspring, and they will be too many to count. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, you have conceived and will have a son. You will name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your cry of affliction. This man will be like a wild donkey. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him. He will live at odds with all his brothers. So she called the Lord who spoke to her, the God who sees. For she said, in this place have I actually seen the one who sees me? That is why she named the spring a well of the living one who sees me. It is located between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar gave birth to Abram's son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son Hagar had. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. Chapter 17. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him, saying, I am God Almighty. Live in my presence and be blameless. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly. Then Abram fell face down, and God spoke with him. As for me, my covenant is with you. You will become the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, but your name will be Abraham. For I will make you the father of many nations. I will make you extremely fruitful, and will make nations and kings come from you. I will keep my covenant between you and me, between me and you, and your future offspring throughout their generations, as an everlasting covenant to be your God and the God of your offspring after you. And you and your future generations I will give the land where you are residing, all the land of Canaan, as an eternal possession, and I will be their God. God also said to Abraham, as for you, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations are to keep my covenant. This is my covenant which you are to keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every one of your males must be circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskin to serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you at 8 days old is to be circumcised. This includes a slave born in your house and one purchased with money from any foreigner, the one who is not your offspring. A slave born in your house, as well as one purchased with money, must be circumcised. My covenant will be marked in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. If any male is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that man will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God said to Abraham, As for your wife Sarai, do not call her Sarai, for Sarah will be her name. I will bless her. Indeed, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will produce nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Abraham fell face down. Then he laughed and said to himself, Can a child be born to a 100-year-old man? Can Sarah, a 90-year-old woman, give birth? So Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael were acceptable to you. But God said, No, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will name him Isaac. I will confirm my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his future offspring. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will certainly bless him. I will make him fruitful and will multiply him greatly. He will father 12 tribal leaders, and I will make him into a great nation. But I will confirm my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year. When he finished talking to him, God withdrew from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all the slaves born in his house or purchased with his money, every male among the members of Abraham's household. And he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that very day, just as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13 years old when the flesh of his foreskin was circumcised. On that same day, Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised, and all the men of his household, both slaves born in this house and those purchased with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. Then the Lord appeared to Abraham at the oaks of Mamre while he was sitting in the entrance of his tent during the heat of the day. He looked up when he saw the 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them and bowed to the ground. Then he said, My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, please do not go on past your servant. Let a little water be brought, that you may wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. I will bring a bit of bread so that you may strengthen yourselves. This is why you have passed your servant's way. Later you can continue on. Yes, they replied, do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent and said to Sarah, Quick, knead 3 measures of fine flour and make bread. Meanwhile, Abraham ran to the herd and got a tender, choice calf. He gave it to a young man who hurried to prepare it. Then Abraham took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared and set them before the men. He served them as they ate under the tree. Where is your wife Sarah? They asked him. There, in the tent, he answered. The Lord said, I will certainly come back to you in about a year's time, and your wife Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent behind him. Abraham and Sarah were old and getting on in years. Sarah had passed the age of childbearing, so she laughed to herself. After I have become shriveled up and my Lord is old, will I have delight? But the Lord asked Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Can I really have a baby when I'm old? Is anything impossible for the Lord? At the appointed time I will come back to you, and in about a year she will have a son. Sarah denied it. I did not laugh, she said, because she was afraid. But he replied, No, you did laugh. The men got up from there and looked out over Sodom, and Abraham was walking with them to see them off. Then the Lord said, Should I hide what I am about to do from Abraham? Abraham is to become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him so that he will command his children and his house after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. This is how the Lord will fulfill to Abraham what he promised him. Then the Lord said, The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is immense, and their sin is extremely serious. I will go down to see what they have done, if what they have done justifies the cry that has come up to me. If not, I will find out. The men turned from there and went toward Sodom while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham stepped forward and said, Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away instead of sparing the place for the sake of 50 righteous people who are in it? You could not possibly do such a thing. To kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike, you could not possibly do that. Won't the judge of all the earth do what is just? The Lord said, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham answered, since I had ventured to speak to the Lord, even though I am dust and ashes, suppose the 50 righteous lack 5. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? He replied, I will not destroy it, and if I find 45 there. Then he spoke to him again, suppose 40 are found there. He answered, I will not do it on account of 40. Then he said, let the Lord not be angry, and I will speak further. Suppose 30 are found there. He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Then he answered, since I have ventured to speak to the Lord, suppose 20 are found there. He replied, I will not destroy it on account of 20. Then he said, let the Lord not be angry, and I will speak one more time. Suppose 10 are found there. He answered, I will not destroy it on account of 10. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he departed, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19. The 2 angels entered Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting at Sodom's gate. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them. He bowed with his face to the ground and said, my lords, turn aside to your servant's house, wash your feet, and spend the night. Then you can get up early and go on your way. No, they said, we would rather spend the night in the square. But he urged them so strongly that they followed him and went into his house. He prepared a feast and baked unleavened bread for them, and they ate. Before they went to bed, the men of the city of Sodom, both young and old, the whole population surrounded the house. They called out to Lot and said, where are the men who came to you tonight? Send them out to us so we can have sex with them. Lot went out to them at the entrance and shut the door behind him. He said, don't do this evil, my brothers. Look, I've got 2 daughters who haven't had sexual relations with a man. I'll bring them out to you, and you can do whatever you want to them. However, don't do anything to these men, because they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of the way, they said, adding, this one came here as a foreigner, but he's acting like a judge. Now we'll do more harm to you than to them. They put pressure on Lot and came up to break down the door. But the angels reached out, brought Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the entrance of the house, both young and old, with a blinding light so that they were unable to find the entrance. Then the angel said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, a son-in-law, your sons and daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of this place, for we are about to destroy this place because the outcry against its people is so great before the Lord, that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were going to marry his daughters. Get up, he said. Get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. At daybreak, the angels urged Lot on. Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, and you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he hesitated, because of the Lord's compassion for him, and men grabbed his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his 2 daughters. Then they brought him out and left him outside the city. As soon as the angels got them outside, one of them said, run for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere on the plain. Run to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, no, my lords, please. Your servant has indeed found favor with you in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness by saving my life. But I can't run to the mountains. The disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Look, this town is close enough for me to run to. It is a small place. Please let me go there. It is only a small place, isn't it, so that I can survive? And he said to him, all right, I'll grant your request about this matter too, and I will not demolish the town you mentioned. Hurry up, run there, for I cannot do anything until you get there. Therefore the name of the city is Zoar. The sun had risen over the land when Lot reached Zoar. Then out of the sky the Lord rained burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord. He demolished these cities, the entire plain, all the inhabitants of the cities, and whatever grew on the ground. But his wife looked back and became a pillar of salt. Early in the morning, Abraham went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and all the land of the plain, and he saw that the smoke was going up from the land like the smoke of a furnace. So it was, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and brought Lot out of the middle of the upheaval when he demolished the cities where Lot had lived. Lot departed from Zoar and lived in the mountains along with his 2 daughters, because he was afraid to live in Zoar. Instead, he and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. Then the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man in the land to sleep with us as the custom in all the land. Come, let's get our father to drink wine, so that we can sleep with him and preserve our father's line." So they got their father to drink wine that night, and the firstborn came and slept with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the firstborn said to the younger, "Look, I slept with my father last night. Let's get him to drink wine again, so you can go sleep with him, and we can preserve our father's line." That night they got up, got their father to drink wine, and the younger went and slept with him. He did not know when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The firstborn gave birth to a son and named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger also gave birth to a son, and she named him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. May God bless the reading of this word, and may it transform our minds and our lives to better reflect him. Well, holy cow, that was a lot of scripture and a lot of craziness going on in chapters 16 through 19 of the book of Genesis. The recording was about 15 or 16 minutes long, so I'm going to just keep this a couple minutes. One of the things that stands out to me is the angels of the Lord that are present here that come into Abraham's camp. Some things stand out to me that don't really get discussed in Scripture, but I have a theory on this, and since this is kind of just a brief overview, I like to just talk about these things. I wonder if in the Old Testament, if angels, whether they're the fallen angels or God's angels who remained faithful, if they didn't have a role, and if they couldn't manifest themselves as creatures in a body in the Old Testament, you see all kinds of things happening like this. How does Abraham know that to call these people Lord, right? He calls one of them Lord, and then 2 of them depart, and they seem to be capable of raining down sulfur onto these cities. And so it's kind of crazy to me. I often wonder, do all these mythological tales like Zeus and the Egyptian gods and all these different pagan religions, are they not just rooted and grounded in demonic appearances whenever they were still able to take form on the earth? It just kind of makes sense to me, because they all have these stories that are very specific of angels, or not necessarily angels, but gods, who could be the fallen angels, who are attempting to take the focus of worship away from God and place it on themselves. And so, to me, that answers this question: how did Abraham know that they were these angelic creatures and know to call him Lord? And maybe it's because, just like any other appearance of angels, they appear on the scene and they have to tell the people, don't be afraid. Any of the descriptions we have of angels throughout Scripture are kind of crazy. The book of Revelation talks about angels being covered head to toe in eyeballs, and they have 6 wings and 4 faces. The book of Ezekiel is the same way. These angels aren't cute little chubby babies that are floating around. They are powerful, supernatural creatures. They're beyond nature that we know of. They can affect things in a different way than we can. Maybe they have special abilities, almost like superheroes of today, but that does seem to be the case here. The men leave after telling Abraham that Sarah will have a child, and they will return in about a year. They head off to Sodom and Gomorrah, where the people of the town have become ultra wicked. In fact, they try to steal the angels away from Lot and attempt to rape them. That's pretty crazy. I mean, why in the world would that even cross your mind to do that? And so we're seeing here this sort of evil that is existing in Sodom and Gomorrah. And so God is just going to wipe that city from the face of the earth. And that's exactly what they do. Now, there's some guesses, some speculation on the roles of angels, and I've discussed this with my Sunday school class a lot. One of the roles would be Satan, who is the accuser. You see the accuser, and you also see the angels of death who come down and just rain destruction and just kill people. You see it whenever the Passover takes place and the angel comes through and kills all the firstborn. That may be a role. He's God's executioner to execute judgment on the world. This may be that angel. Maybe different angels occupy those roles at different times. I'm not sure. Scripture doesn't really say a lot, and so that shouldn't really be our focus. A couple other events that take place. You heard the word circumcision about 50 times, so that is to confirm God's covenant with Abraham. You hear Abraham's plea with the angel, which is kind of crazy that Abraham cried out in a plea to save the city. Lot seems to have bargained with the angel, hey, instead of the mountains, I don't know what the deal was with that. I don't want to climb the mountain. I don't know. He says, can I just go to the city over here and I'll be safe? So the angel's like, yeah, sure, you can go there. But you need to hurry up because the city is about to be destroyed. And that's exactly what happens. He rains down fire and brimstone, sulfur down on Sodom and Gomorrah. But something strange happens where Lot's wife turns back around and becomes a pillar of salt. And then I don't think you missed the part where daughters are sleeping with their fathers. That's really weird. Back in the day, that's where you get the origins of the Moabites and the Ammonites, which we will see later. And so this is just kind of a brief overview. We're going to look at the birth of Isaac coming up and some of those different stories. And so thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. This is the DiscipleSmith's podcast.